Welcome to the Ave Podcast with Cal C on South Shore Ave Radio.
Welcome to the Ave Podcast, where I'm joined by the commish. Long time, the commish. The commish, the South Shore Ave family member, Julian, a.k.a. Jules the commish. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me as always. Appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Did you like the NBA Finals?
I did not like the NBA Finals. No, I did not. I was anticipating a little bit more competitive matchup of 6 games, maybe.
Yeah.
But they were either blowouts. Even Dallas's one win was a blowout. Even when they did win, it wasn't close. So I was expecting a closer finals.
I watched every game because I'm like a basketball junkie, but like it wasn't really that interesting. It just wasn't like it. Then
no.
I thought Dallas would have a good shot, but I was wrong.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's just Boston was just a better all around team from the jump. Like the one thing I remember saying was like you'll know from the first 2 games like how the series is gonna be, and then once you saw how it laid out, it was like, all right, like Boston's, they're not gonna lose this.
No, you know what? They match up so well to Dallas.
Oh yeah.
Like defensively, right? It's got Holiday and White. Like they're one of the top 5 perimeter defenders, right?
They're the best defensive backcourt in the league,
right? And you got Kyrie. Right, and that's a good matchup for Drew, like in terms of like a matchup, right? Mm-hmm. And then Luka, not many players are going to be able to slow him down, but Derek White is probably the best person you could throw at him.
Yeah,
next to Dort on OKC, but they just matched up well. That's all.
Yeah,
perimeter players,
and he could throw all the bodies at those guys, so that's what kind of made the difference too.
I think Minnesota would have given Denver would have given Boston a stronger run. Especially
Denver because of the Joker, and he just
the matchups, right?
Down. Yeah, he would have
matchups.
That would have been like unfair. Like any center guard could be this, especially even Porzingis with his injury, that physicality, that just would not have been right for him.
Nah, and then he would have got Horford in foul trouble. Who you bringing in?
That would have went down a nasty path for sure. But I mean, all we can hope is that we see it next year, possibly. Because the West is just nuts right now.
Yeah, it's all matchups. Yeah, who you match up in the first round and the second round.
Yeah, but you know what? Let's break down the off season so far, because there's been quite a bit amount of moves so far in terms of extensions, in terms of the off season right now, especially before the free agency period opens up. It's always like the best period in time because everything is speculation. Like all the dreams are open again, right? And what I find funny is, I mean, I know we should probably talk about the Raptors first, being that they had their draft last night. They picked up a few good young players, mainly their first round pick Jacoby Walter at the 19th spot from Baylor. But Zach Edey got drafted, bro.
Man, I did not see that coming, man. Like, it makes sense because they need a big. I don't think I can't say anybody, but I didn't see him going that high. Mm-hmm. Was he almost like a lottery pick up?
No, he was a lottery pick, yeah.
Oh, he was a lottery pick,
yeah,
like 9. Yeah, 9 is still a lottery pick. Yeah, nobody saw that coming, especially not last year or the years before. But this was the best. Whoever, like his camp, made the right decision. Playing another 5 years? What do you play? 4 or 5 years?
No,
in the
4
league?
years. 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
Coming into this year's draft, in this weak ass draft. And he got picked by Charlotte. So, but I was going to say earlier that I was hoping that Raptors was
Memphis.
Yeah. Oh, who that? I said Charlotte.
Yeah.
Fuck, sorry, my bad. Memphis. I was hoping the Raptors were going to draft him and then trade Pirtle. Because to me, it's like they're almost similar styles, right? Trade Pirtle to Memphis, because that was a rumor, trading Pirtle to Memphis and whatnot, or the hope was for. But I'm happy for the kid, man. I'm happy for him. He put in the work, and I'm always going to support Canadian, homegrown talent. So we'll see how he does. You think he's going to have a good year, or like you think he's going to pan out in the NBA with the new style of NBA big men?
You know what? I think so, actually. But first and foremost, I want my apology from Randall Walter and O'Neal Kamaka, right? Because and
What did they say?
Well, you know why? Because when Team Canada was going on their run, right, last year in the World Championships, I hate to call them out, but I got to do it because I almost got laughed out of my own podcast for mentioning that Zach Edey should be that I thought he would be a first round pick this year. And they both almost laughed me out of my own podcast just for mentioning it.
Really?
And I'm like, I want my apology. I want it now. But it's I tell you, like I don't think it's first of all, I'm very happy for the kid. And I'm calling him a 7'3" guy kid. But but like, I don't understand first of all why he was like it was definitive that Donovan Clinton was the was ahead of him in the like all the draft rankings when like he basically destroyed him in the championship game. I don't
get it.
I don't understand. I'm like, am I missing something? I watched this kid play for 2 years. Like he was okay, but why is it like I just didn't understand the whole thing of like, oh, he's just like he might like there was points in these mock drafts so they had him like third overall, and they had Zach like late in the first round in some of these mock drafts, and I'm like, I don't understand what the hell is happening here because I'm like, I know he's a little bit older, but I'm like, but he couldn't handle Zach at all. Why is he getting? You know what I mean? It made zero sense to me.
I thought he got exposed, like clean in that finals. By Zach. It wasn't even close. Yeah, he has some years on him, right? So what? Like, my point is he still got exposed.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it, how high he was going in the box and stuff like that. Or even how high he even went. But again, it goes back to how weak this draft was.
Yeah, and honestly, to answer your question, I feel like, I definitely feel like he will be okay in the league. I don't know how he's going to pan out per se in terms of if he's going to be a star and all that stuff, but I don't think he's going to be a bust because I've been saying for the last couple of years that if you're watching the pattern in the league, especially like the best players in the league now, a lot of the best players in the league, it's big men. Like the last few MVPs, it's all guys 6'11" and up, right? Mm-hmm. And you're starting to see more and more younger guys coming in, like, and I'm not even talking like the superstars. I'm talking even like the Jalen Durans and you know what I mean, like from Detroit, and like you're seeing more guys coming from the woodworks. Like look at even the playoffs. You had a Twin Towers with Minnesota. They took care of the best player in the league in Jokic, and then they lost to a Twin Towers that wasn't as good as they were, but that Dallas team is big. Now you got Boston, who's big. You got all these teams that are getting bigger, and to me, the way he plays, because it's not like Zach Edey's like a stiff or a slouch. Like he can, for his size, he can move better. Like he did improve on his footwork going into this season, but his offensive game, he's got a great touch. He can shoot free throws. You know what I mean? I'm like he moves around the basket. Like if you can't expose him totally on pick and rolls. I mean, that's going to change when he gets in the league the first few years. You got to get used to the speed. And yeah, he's not going to be able to cover Lillard and these guys one-on-one. Like, nobody's expecting that. But to say, like, like even a couple of years ago or last year when guys are like, yo, the NBA is, it's where it's at now. Like, the big men aren't. I'm like, you're starting to see a shift. I'm not saying it's back to where it was in the 90s, but there's definitely a shift happening. You know what I mean? And I think, excuse me, and I feel like where he went to Memphis, because you started hearing this week actually that it was either Portland or Memphis that may take him. So I was like, whoa, okay, like I guess he's moved up the ranks. Good for him, And I felt like him going to Memphis. Thinking about it now, Julia, I think it's the right move for them because it's not just size. I think if you watch anything with Zach, like he's, at least from the time that I've seen him, he plays with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, he does.
Which fits in perfect with this Memphis culture. It fits in perfect. So again, I don't know what the status of his career is going to be, but I'm telling you, mentally and how he plays, he's going to fit in. And that's all you want. Like, he doesn't need to, he's not going to be playing like 30, 35 minutes a night right now, but you need the size, and if he can score, man, like I think it's gonna work out better than people think in Memphis, at least to start off.
Yeah. Well, there's an opening for him. Because they need a big man that can rebound and finish around the bucket.
Yeah.
So he can carve out a role. That's definitely without a question. But what is it with Portland needing a big man? Can you explain that to me? Because they did draft Klingon, right? And they were looking at Edey. What's going on with Ayton?
I don't know. I don't know because he's under
I'm
contract.
confused.
He's under contract. Maybe they're planning on moving him or something, I guess. But
they were just looking at centers. I don't get it.
Yeah. I don't understand some of these GMs sometimes, Julie. I don't get it. Like that's my only motto is like maybe they're trying to move him. They're trying to move Ayton. That's the only thing I can think of because I'm like, yeah, why would you pay Ayton, make him the kind of the cornerstone? He's young himself still, and you're gonna draft a 7'3" guy or 7'2" guy
for what? To come off the bench? Like you shouldn't be drafting anybody in the top 8 to come off the bench. Like ideally. I don't get it.
Not if that position is filled.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I meant. You're gonna wait. To me, it's a wasted pick because that means you already have somebody that you had on your squad that can play that position. So I don't know. I was just curious on why they were targeting big men, but anyhow.
No, it's a great point. I really don't know. I really don't know why they were targeting for that. It's wild to me. Before we move to the next question, your thoughts on the Raptors picks?
Oh, you know what? As I was mentioning to you earlier, I didn't know a lot of the players from like 10 and below, in terms of prospects and whatnot. And I was Googling half of these guys. But who they ended up picking, I actually like in terms of the intangibles and the ceiling. I think I've read that it's not a high ceiling, but I don't see how he could not have a high ceiling for somebody that can shoot, who has a good wingspan, who's athletic. I don't see how he has a low ceiling. I read those reports, but anyhow, I like from what I saw in terms of the eye test, as I always look for. Mm-hmm. I think we can. We're gonna let go of Trent Jr. Hopefully we don't re-sign him, and we need some perimeter help. Actually, we need help everywhere, to be honest with you. Yeah. So I like that. I didn't even hear of the kid from San Francisco from University. I never even heard. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I never even heard of him. Was it Ogbo? Jonathan? I don't know how you pronounce his name, but I looked at the video and I'm like, yo, this guy reminds me of a Siakam. Like a 6'6", 6'7", athletic, long,
7 foot wingspan.
He plays like a big. He plays like a 4 or 5. Yeah, and he's 6'6", 6'7". And I was looking at it just in terms of the pure athleticism. I'm like, yo, you can work with this. You can work with this,
especially right? Project second round pick.
So he's growing into his body. It seems like, and he's a late bloomer from what it looks like, and seems like a worthwhile pick in the second round. And then who did we choose again? The guard from Houston?
Jamal Sheed? Yeah.
Like I know he's a defensive stalwart, and that's pretty much what he's known for. Yeah. I don't know he's going to make an impact on the squad the next year, but it's definitely a pick that I wouldn't mind using and bring him into the 905 and building from there. So, from what they have, it's, like you got to remember, this is a weak draft, and it's a second round. And from what I saw, I think we did overall well. Now it's all about us developing them to a point to see if they can contribute. But I like it.
Well, it screams to me, especially with the trade for Davion Mitchell for Sacramento. It seems like they definitely want to move in a defensive angle, especially from the backcourt. It looks like because Davion Mitchell isn't that tall either. I don't believe.
No, he's not. He's like
but 6 feet, 6'1", something like that. But they definitely want those kind of guys to maybe pick up 94 feet or like at least like 3/4 court something, right? Like, yeah, they definitely want those guys in there because Sheed is gonna definitely be that at the very least because his defensive prowess is pretty wild. It's pretty wild, and it's funny because I did see that kid from San Francisco. When I sent you that clip earlier tonight, I realized I'm like I actually saw this clip a couple of months ago. But I didn't know who he was. I didn't remember who he was or what school he went to and all that. But I do remember seeing that clip. Like, okay, like that guy looks. But I thought he was about 6'10", the way he was getting off the floor dunking. I didn't realize he's 6'6". Yeah, I didn't realize that.
How does he look so much bigger on the floor? I don't get it.
His arms are crazy long, man. Like I said, 7 foot reach for a 6'6" guy is crazy. Like,
yeah, man. I saw him like finishing above the rim with ease. And I'm like, yo, this guy got to be like 6'10".
That's what I thought. Yeah. So that's why I was like, whatever. I was like, oh wow, he's 6'6". Okay. Like if that could be a as you said, like a Siakam kind of role, then in the future down the line, then shit, there could be something there. He's got some athleticism to him, so.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then you can't teach that, right? You can't teach the athleticism. You could teach a player to shoot, right? But you can't teach him to jump through the hoop. So he has athleticism, and if he can develop some type of shot, and he has a good awareness on the court. Like I saw him throwing lobs and passes through cutters, I'm like, yo, this guy can pass, see the court. I go, he has that mental capacity, like to slow the game down too, right? And that's hard to teach too. Like I don't even think you can teach that. Like like Precious was horrible, but he had the athleticism, right? Precious, but his brain was just going 100 miles per minute. Mm-hmm. No matter how many times I'm sure they told him slow it down, he can't do it.
Yeah. This
kid looked like he was slowing it down. Like he would have the ball, he'll find the cutter. I saw him throw lobs. I'm like, when you can throw lobs from the 3-point line or during transition,
you got
as awareness. A big man, that tells me a lot.
Yeah, you got good good awareness.
And touch.
Well, I gotta ask this, man. What are your thoughts on Bronny being drafted by the Lakers?
Now, allow the kid, man. Allow LeBron. You know where I'm going to go already with this already. You know I'm going to go. Now, people are going to hate on LeBron. He gets his way. Why do we fold? And how it's not fair and all this crap. Listen, I don't know if you saw the clip I just sent. Wojnarowski, in terms of nepotism, it's rampant among the league. Management, coaches, they all do it. And this is another clear case of nepotism. So don't get me wrong. Otherwise, you probably may not have been drafted. Who the fuck cares? If they can do it, we can do it. How are you going to go? I don't know how people will hate. Like, listen, I get it. It will bother me. I can see how it can bother you. Okay, I'll take that back. I can see. But the hatred, I would never get over. The guy's looking out for his son. What more do you want him to do? This is what I would do if I had the chance. And how amazing is it going to be to see a father and son? Has that been? This may be a dumb question. Has that been done before?
Not in the NBA. I don't think.
Right? Like, yeah, he's known baseball, Griffey, but like in the NBA, I don't think that's ever been done before. That's amazing. I'll watch it just for that, to be honest with you.
It's funny, and I get the nepotism side from execs and
coaches
and
scouting.
That I get that. So in some ways I can agree, and it's not that big of a deal in that sense. Let's play the flip side for a moment, though. Mm-hmm. Right? Like for those that are saying that this is the NBA's version of the Griffies, right? To me, you can't make that comparison because the Griffies didn't shoehorn the junior to get into the league. You know what I mean? Like it's like, because when you look at Ken Griffey Sr., he was a solid baseball player, but his son coming in on the same team in the Mariners was a prodigy, right? Did the Hulls do the same thing?
No, I think Gordy was old. Like I think they did do the same thing, but like Brett Hall was a phenomenal.
Brett Hall was much
a prodigy,
younger, right?
Yeah, and he was
right.
a Hall of Famer kind of thing. So
right.
But yeah, you're right. Yeah, no.
I mean, the way I look at it too, it's like, I mean, there's a few reasons why I'll look at it from the flip side of this for sure. It's like, again, Bronny averages less than 5 points a game, man. I watched some of those games. I watched some of those Pac-12 games for obvious reasons. And most of the time that I watch him, Julian, I'm telling you this, just being completely unbiased, being honest, there was a lot of those times I watched. I would say 80% of the time you didn't even know he was on the floor.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? So, and I know it's the second round, and it's almost the end of the draft. Like, and I know the Clutch team management, they're pushing for him not to get a 2-way contract. So if they get their way, he will be on the 15-man roster. But like to me, I'm like I understand the optics of like father and son playing in the league, but it's not authentic because he was shoehorned into the league. Like this kid, like to me, I keep saying this, like where the James family is, financially and in terms of like power, wealth, all that stuff. Like what is the rush to get Bronny in the league as a freshman? Like that's
well, the rush would be LeBron.
Well,
so, he has maybe 1 more or 2 more. Sorry, what are you saying? He has one or 2 more years at most. I think.
I think he's gonna play longer than that.
1 or 2 more years. Eh?
Well, here's my thing, because like, why couldn't he stay to sophomore or junior year? Is the goal to get him in the league, or is the goal to get him to have a lengthy career in the league? Because my thing is, if you want your son to be in the league, you want your son to be in the league for 10, 15 years, not to try to get this Griffey stat, I like to call it. You know what I mean? So like that to me was where I'm like, okay, like the kid went into cardiac arrest. He came in, he missed the first 2 months of the season. He didn't have a great season, you know what I mean, by all accounts. And he's a freshman, you know what I mean? He's going to go through his ups and downs and stuff. And there's a lot of pressure on the kid. Cool. Let's see how he does his sophomore year. Can we get to his sophomore year? Like, if he gets to a sophomore year and now you can, you know what I mean? And now he wants to try to leave up. I'm like, you know what? Okay, whatever. Like, you tried. You know what I'm saying? Like, you at least you went through them. There would have been some sort of improvements. You know what I mean? Like, there just would have been some more action there. I think to me, I'm like, I know people are looking at it like, yo, this is history, this is nepotism and stuff, all this stuff. We get that, but to me, I don't think the optics of this is good.
But listen to me, Calvin. But I hear you. But there's a high probability that he wouldn't even get to the league if he wasn't LeBron's son. Right? Let's be real.
100%.
You're looking at potential 10 years. If he stays sophomore, he could have a longer NBA career. He may not even have gotten into the league. So that's for one thing. So B, if you're going to use that nepotism, why wait to the second year? You might as well do it now, right? I'm not condoning it, mm-hmm. right? But at the same time, and I think I don't know what you said earlier in terms of it's not authentic. Most of nepotism isn't authentic in any realm.
But this nepotism is different as a player. As a player, it's a little bit different. It has to be a little more authentic as a player. Because we know, Julian, that this guy shouldn't be. He shouldn't be in the league. Now,
Calvin, you know how many times there's like assistant coaches, father sons in the NFL coaches, that they shouldn't even be there. Like, sure, the father can pass along the tutelage to the son on coaching strategies and teach. So don't get me wrong, right? But half the time they don't pay their dues, like other assistant coaches that were working in the minor leagues and working their way up.
Yeah.
Right. Let's be real. Even in the professional, most coaches are former players, and meaning like they have nepotism in terms of the relationships and the networks that they have generated or created throughout their playing career.
Right.
Right. So that's still nepotism, even though it's not like direct family.
I mean, look, Doc Rivers. I mean, Austin Rivers. Getting into the league. Now, mind you, he had a lengthy career, and coming into high school was like the number one player in the nation.
Correct.
But and I'll say this too, because to me, like, nepotism works. Nepotism to me works, and correct me if I'm wrong, but to me it works in the event that like the person that has the power on the top of the totem pole for nepotism being like the father or the uncle or whoever it is, right? Like, it's connected to the longevity that they're going to be at that position for, or that company for. You know what I mean? So it's like if I bring my son into my company, right,
mm-hmm.
or a company, whether it's my job or like I'm a VP of the company, if I bring my son in there, you pretty much know he's probably going to be there for a bit because I'm going to be there for a while. You know what I'm saying?
But that's not the definition of nepotism, though. The definition of nepotism is basically having a close connection to the person above you that's hiring you. It doesn't have to be family. It can be a friend.
For sure.
So either they don't have to have a long longevity in that corporation or thing. You could have just gotten in last year. You could have got hired at NBA so-and-so as a writer, and you said a year later, Jude, I got a spot for you. Come. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what they all do in the coaching staff. They bring all their assistant coaches from buddies that they know. It's also all nepotism. They're not hiring. They're not taking resumes from every random Joe Blow, right? So that's all nepotism. It happens everywhere. You don't need so long-standing position in the company.
Let me rephrase that, because I don't mean it like that, like the definition of it. I mean more of like how it would truly work in the terms of the power. Because I'm like, in terms of this aspect of the actual product being on the floor, like LeBron being the player and Bronny being the player as well. Like, to me, once he leaves the league, like say he does leave in the next 2 or 3 years, if Bronny's not anywhere close to, like if Bronny ends up being who we think he might be, which is like a second round G League type of player, how's that nepotism work now? He's going to be out of the league. You know what I mean? Like there's no reason to keep him if he's not going to be. You know what I mean? Like that to me is where I'm like, where it works different in terms of front office or that kind of thing. It's like if the power structure of the nepotism leaves in the next couple of years, 2-3 years from now, why do you keep Bronny in the league if his father's not going to be there playing and generating the power and the infrastructure for the league? Like if he's retired, like why do we have to keep loyalty to Bronny for? Like, you're not in the league anymore.
We will worry about that when that day comes. When LeBron retires, who cares about that? All they care about is getting him in and getting him acclimated to the NBA schedule, practices, playing with NBA players and developing him that way, or developing in the G League. Hopefully one day they're both checking on the same court to make history. That's all they care about. They don't care about anything else. If LeBron retires in 2 years and they want to cut Bronny, they might do so. They have no ties to LeBron. Mm-hmm. Who cares? But the point is they will figure that out when they get there.
Yeah.
As of now, it's actually going to be like, I'm going to watch it if he plays in the game. Like, aren't you going to watch it if he plays in the game?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose so. I guess, like I said again, to me, it goes back to my further thing. Are you trying to do this part to make history, or are you trying to do this part to make him be in the league for the long term?
He's not staying in no league in long term. He's not good enough at this point. If I look at him at his stage of development, he's not going to have a long term career.
But
like, to me, he's a tweener. Like, I just don't see it. But who knows, right? Because he was off half of the year because of, what was the issue again? Their heart.
He had a cardiac arrest last summer.
Yeah, right. So let's give him, like, who knows? I'm not closing the book on him yet, right? But the point is, what I see right now, what I saw last year, he's not an NBA player.
No,
it's not even a question. So I'm not denying that.
Julian, he wasn't even an All-American player.
He probably wasn't even a starter.
Yeah, he wasn't an All-American. And I'm saying this like it's factual, right? Like, I'm not saying this like to hate on the kid. I'm not hating on the kid at all. Like, I don't want to see. I don't wish ill will on people, much less children. I don't. I'm not that type of person. But at the same time, I'm like, the All-American game, he was the 28th ranked player before that went in, and then the powers that be worked the powers, and all of a sudden, not only was he playing the game, he was ranked 9th. It happened maybe like a week before the game. All of a sudden, he went from 28th to 9th. And you're like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? So,
no, I hear you there. I'm not defending him or what's happening. I'm just saying nepotism happens every single day in our lives. That's all I'm saying. And when I say we African Americans do it, I don't care. I'm supporting it because they do it. Coaches and bring their sons in. What's it on Syracuse? The coach there brought. I'm not saying his son wasn't good. Bowman, whatever. Like, they all do it, man. What the fuck? They all do it. All right, so I don't care. It's just that it's on a higher scale now with LeBron, and it's optically it looks bad because as you said, it's not behind the scenes. It's not behind the scenes behind the desk. He's actually on TV. So I get it.
If there's any truth to this rumor that Rich Paul was basically warning other teams to not draft him, otherwise he's going to play in another country. Like, if I was a spiteful GM, I would have just been like, all right, I dare you. Set him. Guess what? When you come back overseas, we still have his rights. You know
we're not even. I think most organizations are not even a waste a pick to test how, if they're really daring them. Like, I think they want to use the pick on a.
It would have been funny. It would have been funny if Boston did it.
Nobody's going to be even risking a pick to do it.
Yeah, it would have been hilarious if Boston did that. I saw Tim Legler make that joke when they drafted him, and then they're like, "We got your son." Like, take it.
That would have been funny. That would have been funny. No, I don't think he would have been drafted at all, period. Right?
No. I think if it wasn't for the Lakers spot, like, he wouldn't have gotten drafted.
100%.
He would have been a free agent. But like I said, to me, it's like I just didn't see the need that he had to be pushed through as a freshman. And I understand why it happened. I get it. It's because of the father. I'm not being naive to that. But But again, with that said, I'm still saying I don't understand why he would be pushed to that. If like I said, I want the kid to have a long career. I don't care necessarily about making the history for that part of it.
But
I
Calvin,
want that kid to love
if
that.
you're his father and you kind of at the back of your mind think this guy is not good enough, my son's not good enough, but I can't come out and publicly say that. You're gonna get him in now when I'm there. Like I'm saying, if you're the father, you're gonna try to get him in as well while you're there because you got to pull your strings, get him in because he probably may not make it in.
Yeah,
at least I can fulfill his dream. I can fulfill his dreams of being in the NBA now because as his father, I did it for him. I would do it too.
Yeah, I hear you. It just doesn't look good. I just don't think it looks good.
I got you, but I'm saying most of the time nepotism never does.
Mm-hmm. With that said, pivoting because obviously this is the end of the draft. Let's circle back to the beginning of the draft. Is France the new wave right now?
Oh man, you know,
are we on some voulez-vous coucher avec moi shit? Like, what are we doing here? Like, this is crazy.
Again, I go back to this draft being so weak. But that being said, France is pumping out a lot of NBA talented players. What is it? The first two picks? Or the first two, right? The first two picks.
3 of the top 6 picks.
3 of the top 6. Oh yes, that's right. Who? The third one was.
Do not ask me to pronounce the name, man.
Was it? I don't even know. Is it like is it the Charlotte Hornets pick? I don't even know.
Yeah, the Hornets pick.
Yeah, but you know, it's great to see other countries developing players and making it to NBA, making an impact, and being more of a global sport. I like seeing other countries competing and at a high level with the U.S. and like as we see with Canada right now, right? So it's great. I love it. But are they the new powerhouse? Could be. Honestly, we got to see how these players pan out. Just because they're drafted first and second, I'm not really a big fan of what I saw from Sar. I didn't see much of I can't even pronounce his name. Rashasher.
Yeah,
like I haven't seen a lot.
Rashasher.
Like I haven't seen a lot. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I have to Google and go through, but we got to see how they do in the next 2 years to see if they are going to be a powerhouse, like to contribute to France's, because France already has a strong team, right?
Oh no, these kids are coming. Like they are going to contribute. I don't know about this Olympics, but I'm telling you, by the next Olympics, which will be in, I believe it's in LA in 2028. France has a chance to be a real power. Like the next like 2 Olympics after Paris is going to be like. Man, France might be, like, depending on how these players develop, they are going to be a world power for sure when it comes to basketball. Like, it's, like, I think the Risha Shear kid I don't think he's that bad, to be honest.
He actually looks pretty decent from what I saw.
Like,
right?
the highlights I saw, for the whole year, they kept saying this Sar kid was going to be number 1. So I was like, yeah, this draft is going to be pretty weak if he's going to be the number 1 player.
I'm not impressed by him.
You know?
Not impressed.
Nah, neither was I. I won't lie to you. But when I started seeing the Zachary kid, I was like, well, why isn't this kid number 1? Like, this kid seems like he's better than this Sar kid. You know what I mean? And I guess Atlanta figured that out too.
Yeah.
And it worked out for them. But I actually thought that was a pretty good pick in a draft that's not particularly strong.
I would have chosen him as well.
Yeah, no, this is a solid kid. Like I can't pronounce the kid's name from Charlotte. Saloon, yeah.
Saloon.
Like they said he's a raw athlete, so he's gonna take some time to develop and all of that. But like I like the way France is coming right now. It's like Wemby is basically like RZA and bringing in the rest of the Wu-Tang. That's what it feels like right now.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean? Like I think Paris, like I said again, it's gonna be quite interesting. But the Sar kid, I'm with you. I wasn't impressed. I wasn't impressed from the highlights I saw with the Sar. The Sar kid seems like he's going to be like a
project.
Pick and roll project. At best, he'll be like a Clint Capella, which at this stage of where the league is going right now, that might mean $50 million a year. So you know what I mean. So it may not be the worst thing in the world, but like I said, but I think that kid could be pretty good. The Zachary kid, I think.
Yeah, I do too
he has
as well.
Potential to be pretty good. Like we always do this thing where it's like. We look into the draft and we're like, this draft is trash. it's the worst draft ever. And then you go back in history and then you realize, yeah, maybe the draft wasn't that great, but there was an all-star here. There was a good player here. There was a good player there. Like in 2013, I always say, like, that was the Anthony Bennett draft, and, people knocked it and all that stuff. But, I mean, didn't Giannis come out of that draft, right? So you just don't know, right? Like, you just don't know how this all pans out. But, I mean, the prospects are great. Do. But, yeah, but you just don't know how it's going to pan out, right?
You never do. It'll be interesting to see, like, the top 3 players that come out of this draft in 10 years, like who they are. Outside of number 1, maybe of the Zachary kid, but like anybody else, I don't know. Like I couldn't tell you who it would be right now.
I tell you what though, I like the Stephen Castle kid.
I like him too.
Yeah.
I like a lot. So I should say I like a lot of players, but do I see them as potential like all stars? I don't. Right now, right? So I think it's going to be like players that surprise us, like a Giannis and a Siakam, like kind of came out of nowhere. That's going to do it, and I just don't know who that is until you throw him on the court.
Yeah, I like the Castle kid a lot, especially where he's going too, because going to San Antonio, being he just had his freshman year as well, and. To go under Pops' tutelage with what they're trying to build around Wemby, like I like his game, and I like that he's going to that team. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be interesting, and I kind of like the Dillingham kid too from Kentucky.
I do too as well.
Yeah,
I like both of those players.
Yeah, both of them. And you know what? The Reed kid wasn't that bad either. I think what hurt him is that he's not as tall as you thought, because I thought he was going to be at least his Pops' height, which is like around 6'3", I think. But I think he's like just under 6'2", which
is he? Wow, that's short. He's a shooting guard. He's a shooting guard, right? He's not a point guard.
He's more of a point, actually.
But
still, it's not.
He's not athletic enough to be a point in my eyes. But the thing is, I think what else hurts him is that he went so high.
Yeah,
like he went 3rd overall. Like I think if he was like 12th or 9th, 10th or around there, I wouldn't be so critical. To be honest, I'll be like, okay, it fits him. But to be 3rd overall. I would have to look back at the history of the 3rd pick, and who they were and the impact they made. I don't think he's in that same category.
Yo, whoever made that meme of him, of that meme from the Hustle and Flow thing, you know what I'm talking about?
No, I didn't see it.
You didn't see the meme where the white producer that was in Hustle and Flow when he I
know who he is, but I didn't see the meme.
When he was laying in bed with the thick black girl.
Yeah.
Like there's a meme up there saying that's gonna be Jeff Reed in Houston.
In Houston.
Yeah. It's hilarious. I'm like, whoever made that meme, you're an asshole.
It's funny because it is funny because I saw when he got drafted, I think it was Jalen Green that was there to like give him a dap and take photos. And Jalen Green had like the sunglasses on, the curls coming, and he looked like. And then Reed was like clean cut, and it just looked hilarious. It looked funny. So I can see that meme popping from there.
Oh no, it is funny actually. But whoever made that meme is an asshole. Like that was hilarious. I had a good laugh at that. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I think there's some decent kids in this draft. It's just there's just not that, especially coming from last year where you had Wemby and Scoot and Brandon Miller and all these guys and stuff. Like it's not that.
Buddy, Zach Edey for the last 2 years. Like Edey had a good year the year before last year.
He had a great year. He had 2 great years.
Two, maybe even 3 like good years. Mm-hmm. This guy was not even the top. He was in mocks, mind you. Who mocks don't really tell the true story. But the point is, he wasn't even in the first round in any of them.
Yeah.
Now he went 9th.
Yeah.
And it's not often you see a 4-year player going that high.
Yeah, true. But props to him again. I mean, he's the first player in 40 years to win back-to-back Player of the Year in college. Like that's a huge feat since Ralph Sampson.
Agreed. That's amazing.
That's a crazy feat, especially and again coming from the city, coming from Toronto. That is impressive, man. It
is amazing. I'm just highlighting how weak this draft is, though.
Yeah. Yo, so to move away from the draft here, real quick, man. The New York Knicks, Julian.
Mm-hmm.
The New York Knicks. What do you think of their move so far?
Man, I like him. So it's hard. So I do like the personnel and how they have constructed the team going forward. I think they're going to give Boston a run. They match up very well with Boston.
Very well. And I thought they matched up with them pretty well from before.
They did. You got to remember, Randall wasn't even playing.
Yeah.
How does he mix in now with the team, right? Does he demand the ball? So it's going to be interesting. I said that he's going to be dealt. I kept on saying that, and people are telling me, no, he won't be. He won't be. But I can't see how you can throw Randall back into that mix. How could you? This guy is like an alpha. He's not going to let the perimeter players dominate the game. He's going to want the ball. He's going to want to touch. I don't see that mixing well going forward into next year. That's me personally. Mm-hmm. That's one. Two, I think they overpaid OG, and they're going to be disappointed in OG. That's the only thing. I'm not saying OG is not going to help them win. I think so. I'm thinking for that money and his health, and just to be his, I don't know. I just think it's a huge overpayment. Huge overpayment. As you know, we see OG every day playing in the last 4 or 5 years in Toronto. But that being said, outside of the money, on paper, I think they beat Boston. I think they could beat Boston.
Yeah.
If they stay healthy. And they match up well. And if they let go of Randall. I think if Randall comes on the team, he's going to ruin the team.
Everybody says that, but it's funny because when you look at that series that they had against the Pacers especially, you saw where those guards got worn out. Like, I mean, OG was hurt, but OG's not like the defense, the offensive guru. You know what I mean? Like, he's not a guy that's going to give you 20 a night, number one. And number two is like in a series against the Pacers. And I'm not going to sit here and guarantee that they would have won, but I think they would have if Randall was there. But you see they needed Randall's toughness and scoring. So I think he does fit it in a way. I get it because what we saw in the playoffs was awesome. Like, it was straight up awesome. It was fun rooting for the Knicks. You know what I mean? But at the same time you saw like the gaps where they needed more than just Brunson and scoring. Like Brunson was working hard to score at certain points and he was getting his buckets. But he was expending a lot of energy doing so. And to alleviate that energy sometimes is when you have that other guy that can also get you 25 to 30, right? Or at least a good 25. And they don't have another play. Even with Mikal Bridges coming there. Mikal Bridges, even though he improved offensively.
Bridges, yeah.
Michael Bridges, sorry. But he always called him Mikal. But
no.
But I'm like, but even with himself, it's like I don't know if I fully trust that 25 a night coming from him or 20 to 25 a night in the playoffs coming from him, right? Even though he's proven that he's a better scorer than what he was in Phoenix. You know what I mean? But if they don't trade Randall and they keep the team the way it is now, find a way to keep Hartenstein, Isaiah. But like if they can keep him somehow, man, that team is going to be a problem. Like they're going to be a real problem. And let me give my respects to OG, man, because like he's a role player that never stays healthy. Mm-hmm. And after he gets traded, the value of the Knicks as a winning franchise goes up whenever he's playing. He sets the minimum down at $35 million a year, and he ends up getting 42. Man, you gotta that's a golf clap, man. You gotta give it to him.
Amazing. No,
you gotta give it to him. You gotta give
outstanding.
It to him,
outstanding.
You gotta give
absolutely it to him. Outstanding. But they with the trade, they were almost forced to give him what he wanted, right? Like because they traded quickly and you can't just let quickly and Barrett go for nothing. So they did have him in a corner. Mm-hmm. All right,
yeah,
but
and he knew that.
Yeah, and the agent worked it well, right? Mm-hmm. He did what he had to do. But I still don't think Randall. I still don't think. I know what you're saying. Like you're gonna need the scoring from elsewhere, but you don't want the ball in his hands at the end of the game. I think he makes poor decisions.
Oh no!
I think he's selfish.
Get it to Brunson.
I think it's a black hole when it goes in his hands. Like it doesn't go the movement. I think he needs to go, and I don't see him giving it to Brunson and taking a step back and letting Brunson take over. I don't see him doing it. I think he's like one of them knucklehead type of guys.
Now, mind you, if they can trade and get somebody else for him, I mean, by all means, go for it. You know what I mean?
100%.
Especially if you get another All-Star, go for it. Do it. I'm not saying he has to be there, but I'm just saying like everybody's quick to throw him on the trading block. But I'm like, get the right deal. And that's the one thing with the Knicks, man. That the other thing too is it's actually amazing to watch the Knicks be in their competent glory right now. They're making smart moves. They're drafting wisely. They're utilizing picks, utilizing the salary cap. Like watching them, it's like an oxymoron of what they've been the last 20 years. Like to watch them operate, like it's been amazing. And I think the biggest thing too is they just gave you a month-long marketing. They gave you a month-long marketing package on their new culture. You know what I mean? You know what it is right now. Who wants to come? We're in New York City. You see what this is right here. Who wants to come? It's fun. You're watching the fans. Like, who doesn't want to play in front of that in the playoffs? Like, look. OG's probably the closest thing to Kawhi Leonard in terms of personality. And you saw that guy being emotional in front of Knicks fans every time he was playing out there. You saw him pumping his fist. I'm like, yo, he never did that shit in Toronto.
You know well, he wasn't pumping his fist. Like, let's be real. Like, yeah, he was getting more emotional, but he still was his stoic, like, dead persona self for the most part.
In comparison to how he was as a Raptor,
he was
basically
similar.
Russell Westbrook.
Fair enough. Like, he definitely showed more emotion, but he was still himself, like that quiet demeanor and whatnot. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I like what they're doing. I did think they gave up a whole lot for Bridges. What did they give him? Like four first rounds. That's wild, man. Not for Bridges. I come on. They're making it out like he was like Durant. Like I thought that was too much, but I can see why they went all in, right? To get the Nova boys together, to continue to support that run that they made last year. You're all in now, so I get it. So don't get me wrong, but that was a lot to give up. So for Bridges,
it was,
and there's not enough balls to go around, man. Between Brunson and even now, Bridges got to get some touches. He doesn't need a lot. Don't get me wrong, but like you're going to trade 5 first-round picks, he's going to want to try to score as much as he can too and contribute. And then you got Randall. Hart feels he can do more now. Dante feels he can do a little bit more. Like there's not enough balls to go around. I think they should trade Randall and bring in. So they're going to lose Hartenstein, right? I think they're going to lose him.
Yeah.
So you need. Like Mitchell Robinson's there, don't get me wrong.
But he doesn't stay healthy either.
I was going to say that. He doesn't stay healthy. So you need like a role player, rebounder that can take the spot of Mitchell Robinson if he's not in to play small. Like a big man. I think that's what they need. A rebounder, shot blocker type of player.
Hey, let me correct you. It's actually 5 future first round picks.
5?
Yeah, it's 5. 5 future first round picks, a pick swap, and a second rounder.
Oh my God, for Bridges.
Yeah,
for Bridges. I don't think you can get that for Durant now. Like Durant, like I don't know if you heard that Durant may be on. I think Phoenix wants to get out of that Durant deal. They're not going to get 5 first rounds for Durant.
Now, mind you, like outside of OKC, the Knicks had the most future first round picks.
I do not care. Bridges is still not worth it.
No, of course not. Of course not. Because I thought it was 4 too. I didn't realize it was 5.
4 is not worth it.
Yeah. So
I think 3 maybe. Listen, we got. I know I don't want to bring this back up for Raptor fans, but for Siakam, mind you, Siakam was on an expiring deal.
Right.
Bridges is in his term deal. So I get it. So it's a little bit different, but still
a good contract too.
Right, so okay, if I can't make that comparison, then I was going to say we only got 3 first rounds and like 3 low, crappy first round picks, not even like the all below 19 or something.
And Bridges hasn't even made an All-Star game.
Oh wow,
like that's a lot. That's a lot. Even with Rudy Gobert getting, that was 4 picks, and at least he made a few All-Star games and got some DPOIs. You know what I mean? So at least you could at least justify it. That is a lot. It's a great fit though. It's a great fit. He's gonna fit right into the Villanova boys and the culture of Coach.
Yeah, he is.
It's a perfect fit, but that's a lot for a perfect fit.
He's gonna fit in. But when he was in Brooklyn and he was basically the man, he didn't perform.
Yeah,
I watched him. He didn't perform
this season, no.
to be that go-to guy and to have it was too much for him. It was too much for him, and he's not made for it. Looked like for that last year, give him it. Like he's still young and all that, right? And it was his first time in that role, but he didn't look ready for it. I can tell you that much.
It's funny.
So,
I used to joke with people that like he's just looking across the bridge at his friends having fun in that Knicks uniform. Like, damn, man, I'm like we all in the same city. They probably all in the same condo unit.
yeah,
You know what I mean? But he's like one guy isn't having as much fun as the rest of his friends, and it's so it's amazing that like they made the trade, and it's like, yo, this guy's like, yo, I'm with y'all now. Like it's almost like, you know, when like you're a crew and one of the friends goes to the different school in high school, and then grade 10, he's like, yo, I'm here, Julian. I'm here. Ah! Like that's what it's like.
That's exactly what it feels like. I'm sure it does for them. And it feels like Brooklyn had no intention of trading him. And then they're like, if you want him, give us 5 first rounds. Or what? And the Knicks like, fuck it, here, take him. Just give it to him. I'm like, sure. Because like, that's the only way I can see how the Knicks gave Brooklyn 5 first round picks, being that he wasn't on the trading block. You're gonna have to sweep us off our feet, and they did. 5 first round picks. That's unbelievable. That is, and you know the funny thing is, I don't think any of them are protected.
No, it's not. It's all unprotected. But again,
wow.
they have the most picks outside of OKC. But it's a lot though. That's a lot of picks.
That is a lot.
That is a lot of picks. But it could push them to like, because I mean, to me, if they probably, well, actually they had the second. Actually, were they the second pick or second? Actually, no, did they finish second in the conference? They did, right?
The Knicks?
I think they did. I believe they finished second in the conference anyway. So I'm like, and I mean, we know they're miles away from Boston, like, but now it's like they really put them in a closer. They definitely shortened the gap. I'll say that much.
Oh yeah.
Is anyone in OG's family concerned about his well-being? Gonna, you know, in terms of playing for Coach Tibbs long term? Am I the only one that's concerned? I'm concerned. He's not gonna last, Julian.
I know. He didn't even last under Nick Nurse. And Nick Nurse is known to run guys into the ground.
I mean, Julian, he didn't even last the 3 months that he was on the Knicks.
Yeah, his hips. Oh yeah, no, it's going to be interesting because he's already a fragile player, right? He's already a fragile player in terms of his history, of his health. So being under Tibbs at the same time with his history, it's going to be interesting. No, he ain't going to last. Well, definitely not a 82 game sched and then a long playoff run.
And then on top of that, $42.5 million a year average for the Knicks.
That's what I was questioning in terms of the Knicks, like decision making with the 5 first rounds. Like, I like what they're doing, and I knew that they had their hands tied with OG in terms of making that trade for him. But those 2 decisions of the 5 first rounds and all that money for OG might come back to haunt them.
I think what that represents, though, is when you look at that contract. What you should look into that is that it represents what these players are going to be making in the next few years. Because again, he's a role player. That contract in the next 3 to 4 years is going to be the average contract. Isn't that insane?
Really, if that is the case, then it's a good deal.
Yeah, no, it's because they're saying, like, if you look at the TV rights, they're saying in the next 5 years or 4 to 5 years, like the top player is going to be making up to close to like 95 million a year. So if that actually happens, then what he's making is going to be for a decent or good role player. Like it's crazy where this is going, man. So again, man, God bless him, man. Like he just set up generational money, and again, has this guy even played 60 games in the season?
No, I don't even know. I don't even think so.
I'm concerned for his well-being, though. I'll say that much. I really am.
You should have been concerned even before Tibbs, because of how soft he is. He has some weird injuries too, like thumbs and like just weird stuff.
Yeah, and I'll end the podcast with this because I mean I think we definitely have to do a free agent podcast in the next week or so, especially because there's going to be some deals going down. Mm-hmm. So just to get this the last question off and get the, I guess, segue into the next episode to warm up. What should Paul George do?
You know what? Like, I still don't know what is so you can answer me this before I answer the question. LA is not offering the full max, or he has it, but he's just making a decision if he wants to resign it. That's my first question.
No, I think they're offering him what he wants.
Oh, they're offering him. So he just basically deciding from Golden State, LA, like different teams where he should go. Like he's deciding his own fate.
Right.
Right? I got you. If I'm him, I don't think Kawhi. Man, that's
it's tough. It's tough.
He is from LA too, right?
Yep. It's tough. Like, because to me, does he leave the confines of home and like, or does he try to win elsewhere? Because to me, like Steve Ballmer, right? Like with the new facility and the arena that they're building and that they're going to be moving into next year, because I think it's called the Intuit Dome or Inuit Dome or whatever it's called. But it's going to be the most technologically advanced arena in the world, basically. You know, by the time it launches in the fall, right? And you know this is Mr. Microsoft, right? So it's gonna be like it's gonna be crazier than like anything you're gonna see, right? It's gonna blow away the Staples Center, that's for sure. You know what I mean? Like the upgrades are gonna be insane. So you're gonna have that. You know, it's gonna make the Clippers like a world class franchise at this point. You got a really good coach. You know what I mean? And nobody's gonna outspend Ballmer. You know, if he's gonna retain his guys, we've already seen that. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, PG he's got a high level of respect for Kawhi, especially if you listen to like some of his podcasts. Like he's like I've heard him say on podcasts like, yo, Kawhi's that dude. Like he's the guy. Like that's the guy. Like he's even said that. You know what I mean? But I don't think you can ignore the signs. And if you don't ignore the signs, then you know that the window as we see this team is closed. You know what I mean? Like the team is old. They don't have any young prospects to extend the window. They don't have any of their draft picks. You know what I mean? Or they don't have possession of any of their draft picks or pick swaps. You know what I mean? And they're pretty capped out. And then the big elephant in the room is Kawhi can't stay healthy.
Yeah, yeah. So my question now, again, I have another question. I know I'm supposed to be answering. What other teams are optional? I just heard Golden State.
Yeah, which is pretty interesting. But I don't know if the Golden State thing will work out because they're gonna have to give up some. That's more gonna have to work out. Like they're gonna have to trade somebody for that because they're pretty capped out. Like we pretty much know all intent and purposes. Seems like Clay's not gonna stay.
Correct.
But
yeah.
But I think if Paul George opts into Chris Paul opts into his contract, that's $30 million. Like they could use him as a trade, but do the Clippers want him for that price to go back and play with James Harden, who's also a free agent himself?
I didn't know Chris Paul had an option.
Yeah, which I was kind of surprised to learn. Like he can still do it.
Oh my God. Well, they're still pitching it to him, so they have plans in place, maybe buyouts and whatnot. So they're still pitching it to him in terms of signing here, and we make a few trades here and there to make it happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's many teams where if he wants to win, right? Like there's not many teams out there that is willing to have that cap space or who's willing to trade for him. Oh, I'm sorry. There's many teams that are willing to trade for him, but he's a free agent, right? So there's a lot of teams that are gonna have to. Who is ready to win? Other than just there's not many teams.
Yeah,
there's not many options when you really think about it, right? He's probably more likely going to stay with LA, but I didn't hear of any other team other than Golden State. Well, if it's between Golden State and LA, I would say stay in LA.
Well, the options are Philly, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about Philly. That was
like to me the biggest options to me is Philly and Orlando, right? Like I'm afraid
he's not going to Orlando. He ain't going to Orlando.
Well, I'll tell you because I'm afraid of Philly first of all because. I mean, Embiid is basically the 7-foot version of Kawhi. You know what I mean? Like, he can't stay healthy either, and at this point, he drives me crazy. Look, I got to revisit my list of my top 4 players in the league that I love to watch at this point because between him and Kawhi, like, they both have me, like, wanting to, like, somersault off the bandwagon at this point. Like, these guys can't stay healthy. And, you know, but at least with Philly, they got Maxey, right? And I mean, that's something that the Clippers don't even – come close to having in terms of a prospect, a young prospect. You know what I mean? And And then when you look at Orlando, because that's a team on the come up, they got cap space. You got some dogs on that team with Banchero and Wagner, and you're gonna make it happen in the conference where, like, by you going there, you know, it's like you're gonna make a big mark on the conference. You know what I mean? Plus no state tax. You know, you always got to throw that in there.
Yeah.
But you know, I actually hope he goes to Orlando because like I think they need him more, and it extends his championship window, being that it's a younger team. You know what I mean?
I would love for him to go to Orlando, but that ain't happening. Especially a guy like who has his own podcast and businesses and all that.
Yeah,
they need to stay in a major market. Players like him or people like him need a major market, like a Houston or New York or LA, because their focus is on all Miami. Their focus is on off the court ventures as well, building their brands and whatnot. Orlando's not the place for that. He ain't going there. I'm telling you that now. Golden State is still in the San Fran, Silicon Valley, the Bay. So, you know, it's a major city, a major market. So, I don't know. I see him staying on the West Coast, being that he is a West Coast guy too as well. So, I don't see him going to Philly either. No. I don't think there's much options. If he's gonna get maxed everywhere he goes, I see him staying in LA and forcing Bomber to make things happen.
Yeah, it's just with the Clippers, like, at this stage, I don't know what they really do. They basically capped out their future on Kawhi, and it's like a running joke that, like, we got the best of Kawhi before we shipped before he decided not to come home with us. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, like, people say it's karma, whatever. Like, I was never mad that he left the Clippers. I just wish he stayed another year to see if the Raptors could defend the title. But I was never mad at Kawhi for leaving. You know what I mean? But, like, you literally can't depend on him now. You know, to the point that, honestly, I'm afraid for him to even go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Seriously, him and Embiid, to be honest with you. I'm afraid of both of them going to the Olympics. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm like, it's a tough place, because you go to the Clippers, you re-sign with the Clippers, it's like you're going there because, you know, you're used to everything. It's LA. It's, you know what I mean? Like, you know, they're going to get the most money. They're going to, like, Bomber's going to do what he can to get the right players around them. But right now, their window seems to be pretty close, the way the team is stacked up right now. And with the West, the way the West is coming up right now, especially with some of these younger teams, nobody, and I mean nobody, is talking about Memphis for some crazy reason. And, like, we don't think, like, people are forgetting, I know he's a knucklehead, but people are forgetting how incredible Ja is. You know what I mean? And how he can basically, he has a talent to almost swing a title. Like, that's how good he is. And nobody's talking about him. So that, to me, is where I'm like, I find it interesting. You know what I mean? But I'm like, those teams are coming. You know what I mean? So for the Clippers, I'm like, you got to battle Memphis, Minnesota, OKC, Denver, Dallas. Like, you're not, like, dude, this is not New Orleans. Like, this is not. Like, you're getting older as they're getting better. You know what I mean? So that's not where you want to be right now.
Well, they put all the eggs into the basket for Kawhi and Paul George. Those two. They traded the farm for Paul George.
Absolutely.
They can't let him walk away. So they were banking on those two, Kawhi and Paul George, get them to the promised land over every other team. And it didn't work, and it hasn't worked. They looked pretty good at one point last year. They did, right? They did, and towards the end of the season, I think they had a nice run.
Yeah. And then Kawhi got hurt again too.
Got hurt again, and you can bank on him getting hurt again next year.
Yeah.
Right, or taking games off. So the way the team is constructed, it was on paper, it was correct and the right way. I would have done the same moves, right? But in reality of it all, with Kawhi getting hurt and not having a really strong bench, and the way the West is so strong, they didn't have a chance.
Yeah,
they didn't have a chance. No, so right. And there's a lot of teams, up and coming teams that surprise a lot. Like OKC, Dallas surprised me. I'm not gonna lie. When they got Kyrie, I didn't think they'll go to the finals.
That trade was great. That midseason trade was great for them.
Yeah, they basically brought in like Brunson 2.0 to kind of fix what they did by letting him go by bringing in Kyrie. And they did more than what they expected, and I didn't think.
Did you call Kyrie Brunson 2.0? How disrespectful! Oh.
I'm saying in terms of the fit, the fit to work with Luka.
Okay.
Right? Like, because it's hard to play with Luka, and I think Jalen, like Brunson, like he fit well that 1 year, and then he left, and they never found anybody else to fit. They tried to bring in Porzingis and a big. They tried to bring in many. I don't know who else, but Kyrie seems to be the best fit so far.
They figured it out,
right? So there's a lot of teams in the West, and I don't see LA, if they don't stay healthy, competing. Even Minnesota, I think, is going to be a problem next year.
Oh, of course.
Right?
That's not going away. Denver's not going away. They're just, I think Jamal Murray's about to sign his extension, which is over $200 million himself. I think KCP's about to opt out and be a free agent, but I think they're going to find a way to bring him back.
Yeah, they do. They need that defensive shooting guard.
Yeah.
I think they lost Brown the year before, and they can't. Yeah, so.
Like really and truly, Julian. Like if they didn't collapse in that second half of Game 7, like we could be looking at a back-to-back champion right now.
100%.
You know what I mean? So that's why I'm like, I don't. And they're all like hitting their prime, so I don't see them going away either. Like this,
no.
The West is a monster. So that's why I'm like, for Paul George, I'm like, do you confidently believe that, like, if you're trying to win a title, do you confidently believe that this Clippers team, like, do you trust that Bomber and them are going to get it done? Like, I think you could, because like he's not afraid of making these big moves, but it's just they're so capped out. And then on top of that, you got to figure out what to do with Harden. And if you commit all this big money to Harden too, that's another anchor. And in terms of
you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
But they traded their last bit of assets for him too. So it's tough. Like the only guy they can probably get rid of because of the salary is Westbrook, because he didn't make that much.
Yeah, but you're not really saving that much.
Right.
Like if you get rid of him or trade him, you're not getting nothing into return.
Yeah, exactly. So that to me is where the issue lays. But like I guess we'll see in the next week or so, because like I said again, like we definitely got to revisit this episode at the next week, because there's going to be a lot of moves and stuff happening, and I think Paul George is the one that kind of holds the cards.
Yeah.
Right. So it's going to be interesting to see what decisions he makes.
This is what makes the NBA so great, right? The off season.
It's outside of the playoffs, it's the best time of the year.
Yeah, it is, man. Because no other league, football, NFL, NHL, it doesn't match up. MLB, it doesn't match up with the off season of the NBA. It doesn't match up with this.
No, between that and the draft, it's like you take that momentum, you go right into like the middle of July with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So we'll see. It should be exciting. We'll see where the cards fall and where players move. But I don't think there's going to be that much movement. And personally, I think George is going back to LA now that we're talking about it. And I don't think there's going to be much else move. Who else is a big UFA? Anyhow, we'll talk about it soon.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next week for sure. All right, brother. Well, thank you for hopping on as always, man.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate you.
Thank you for checking out the latest edition of the Ave Podcast. Special shout out to Julian, a.k.a. Jules the Commish, for hopping on this episode. We'll be back with the free agents episode of the Ave Podcast. Hopefully next week. There will be a lot of moves, I'm sure. Where Paul George decides to go is going to determine pretty much the rest of the free agency period at this point. And look at some of these extensions, because these extensions are getting crazier and crazier with at least the amount that these guys are signing for. So like I said before, it's dictating to you and letting us know what the future is going to be like in a few years with some of these contracts. It's very wild out here. But stay tuned and locked in for all of it. Once again, hit the 5 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sank. Hit them all. 5 stars, please. And please go hit the catalog over at SouthShoreAve.com. Once again, for the emphasis, that's SouthShoreAve.com. And make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons wherever you listen to podcasts, especially when tuning into my shows. All right? For Julian, a.k.a. Jules the Commish, this is Cal C. And you just tuned into the latest episode of the Ave Podcast here on South Shore Ave Radio. Until next week, peace. We out of here.